Hello and welcome to today's message. I'm Erica Latrice. If you don't know me, and my passion, my purpose is helping you to live yours. I have been waiting several days to share this message with you all, but my prayer is that for those who it's intended for, that this encourages you, that it's uplifting, that it gives you that second, third, fourth, wherever you're at in this year, boost of encouragement so that you know it's time to run. This is a season for running. This is a season for trusting God with every step, every vision that you've been given. And at the start of this year, I talked about this being a year of establishment. Last year, there were messages that I've shared. If you're not connected with me, you can connect across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever at Erica Empower, so you can find some of these messages. But so many of the things that I spoke about are in existence in my life right now. Like I've had some pinch me moments where I'm like, I can't even believe how God has shown up. And these things are actually like the life that I'm living. So I want to talk to you about that today, that this is a year of establishment. There are goals that you have, there are visions that you've been given, there are things that many of you are ready to give up on because nothing in the physical looks like what you expected. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm not even going to do the intro like I usually do today because I want to jump into this message to encourage you. So if you're watching right now, I see I'm see a few of you that are on. Hit like, hit comment, share, support this. That's the best way that you can support it is just by interacting and commenting. But we're getting into this. So I'm actually going to be reading from First Peter 5 and 10. And this is I'll read a couple of versions because it's so good. So and the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. That's the New International Version. English Standard Version. And after you've suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And I'll read King James. But may the God of all grace, who called us to his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after you suffered a while, perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. That was New King James, and now I'm going to finish it with King James. So no matter what version you prefer, I want to encourage you with this. But the God of all grace, who has called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a little while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. I'm telling you right now, this is a year of establishment. There are things and there are seasons and there are moments when if we can just perceive what God is doing, you're not going to get tripped up by what you see. So I'll share with you just a little testimony because last year, if you connected with me, if you follow me, you know I was talking about marriage. And it was an uncomfortable topic for me, even stepping out into the ministry, because I'm like, y'all, I didn't have prospects. It didn't even make sense for me to be talking about this, but I had to be obedient because I would just see confirmation on every side. Confirmation, confirmation, confirmation. So I started sharing this message. This year, if you're connected with me, then you know that I just got married and it happened in a restoration type speed. But what has been the reason I want to share this message today with you is because I've just perceived it. This is a season of a great wealth transfer. I believe so many of you that are watching where if finances have been your challenge, if literally wealth, and you can read in Deuteronomy 28, you can read in Deuteronomy 30, how God gives us this opportunity to receive either blessings or curses, but it's before you. I believe that for many of you, this opportunity is before you. And it may feel like this is who I really want to encourage today. It may feel like nothing in your circumstances say what you see. Nothing is saying what you see. There's no evidence in your physical life right now that says you're about to experience what you know God is calling you to. Many of you have been given some incredible business ideas. Many of you have been given motivation to write something. Many of you have been given insight to start a ministry, to start a business, to start a nonprofit, to step out in a way that's unconventional. Many of you have had the desire or you've seen yourself in positions that don't make sense. And I'm encouraging you today that this is a season of establishment. And even when we can't see it, Hebrews 11 reminds us of this, that faith is being able to stand on, believe for, line up with those things, even when we can't see it, even when we don't know how it's going to happen. And what I don't want you to experience right now is because you can't see it. What usually happens is that we can get into this place of being anxious. We can get to this place of doubting. We can get to this place of frustration. We can start feeling like it's not going to happen because we can't see it. And I'm telling you right now, line up with the vision. Line up with the vision. When I started talking about marriage and when I started talking about relationships, which was so, so far outside of my comfort zone, nothing, nothing, it didn't make sense to me physically. But there were certain instructions that I felt God leading me to. There were certain things when I would be in my prayer time, my quiet time, when I would be in different environments, there were just certain instructions that I was getting. And in those moments, your obedience is going to be crucial because it's uncomfortable. Like imagine being obedient and lining up with something when nothing says you should even be getting ready for that. So for some of you, here's an example. For some of you, God has given you like some incredible ideas. And you're over here looking like you're building wealth, right? Like you have your mindset is saying, I know everybody's at the cookout today. I know everybody's lounging on the porch. I know everybody is clocked out, but you're actually looking forward to doing the work that you need to do. You're actually looking forward to being in position for where you see yourself going. And all they remember is when your credit was bad. All they remember is when you needed to borrow, I don't know, $20 last year. All they remember is that season where you weren't in that place of abundance. And we have to be careful because when you rely solely on what's going on around you, when you rely solely on what's in the physical, what we see, we can allow people, their opinions, people seeing you for who you used to be, even ourselves, we can be so caught up in what we used to be and what we see that we get out of alignment with where God has promised you you're going to go. And this is the year of establishment. I've heard this multiple times. I've thought about this multiple times. If any of you are into sports, my kids play football, basketball. I watched like 90% of the NBA season this past year. When you get into the season, when you get into a game, you can, many of you have witnessed this. I specifically am thinking about when the Grizzlies came back in one of these games and it looked like there was no way they were going to win. It's like you're getting blown out. Many of you feel like the start of this year, you've been getting blown out. First quarter, you was losing. Second quarter, you got outscored. Third quarter, you were getting outscored. Y'all, we are in the final parts of this year and God's word does not return void. When I was hearing messages that I would find love again, that this year would be the year of marriage, it didn't look like it in the first quarter. It didn't look like it in the second quarter. But I'm telling you, you cannot discount what God is able to do. Yes, you may have suffered a while. Yes, things may have looked like they weren't going to come together, but I know who this message is for. And if this message is for you, this is your confirmation. Take this to God in prayer. And I'm speaking to everyone. Y'all know that my passion, what I love to show up in is business and strategy. Well, you may not know this, but my background is in marketing and media, and I loved it. But this piece right here, when God is showing you something, it doesn't matter what environment you're showing up in. If God is not at the foundation, you are allowing yourself to build on something rocky. You might hit CEO level in a company, but you don't even have peace to get sweet sleep at night. There are people that are completely stressed out, and on the outside, it looks like everything is coming together. That's not your portion. The type of establishment that I'm talking about in the latter half of this year, before this year even comes to a close, it's a blessing where God said he adds no burden to it. This blessing is not going to take you out. This increase is not going to overwhelm you. And for many of you, that's why certain doors are closing. Certain doors are closing because what God has for you, you can't take everyone with you. You can't take every mindset with you. You can't be in just any position because when he establishes you, you're not going to be cursed by the blessing. There are people that look blessed, but they're cursed by the blessing. There are people that look like they're increasing. They look like they're on platforms. They look like they're in the overflow, but there's a curse in that blessing. But when God's hand is in it, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what arena you're in, whether you are in television or media or marketing, or you're an attorney, or you're in the medical field, or you're in doing HR work. It doesn't matter. When you trust God to build that foundation for you, many of you are right there having access to the blessing where there's going to be no burden added to it. So when we think about the fourth quarter, how I brought up the Grizzlies, y'all, it looked like they were about to lose. It looked like they were about to be blown out. But in this game in particular, they came back and they won. And so many of you are in position for your comeback. But I want to talk to you really quickly about the mindset of a comeback, the mindset of being able to close out this fourth quarter. And the number one thing is, I talk a lot about Matthew 6:33. When we're seeking God and you have an understanding that God has given you this promise, God has given you this promise. Yes, it may not look like it's going to happen. You might be, even if you've been standing on a promise for marriage or restoration in your finances or whatever it may be, it might not look like it, but stand on that promise. Do not let any person, do not let any closed door, do not let anything distract you and cause you to doubt what God already said was yours. It's yours. This is your season of establishment. It is going to happen. So when you are in that position where you're not going to allow doubt to come in, what usually happens when we're not doubting something is that we get into a place of preparation. And I'm telling you right now that it's time for you to prepare for what you're expecting. If you know, and if you knew that it was happening, if you knew that there was no doubt that these things are going to take place in your life, how would you be in a position of preparation? And I'm talking, I share it with marriage because I'm telling y'all, I am telling you, it did not it did not look like what I thought. And welcome, Onisha. Welcome, Margaret. Welcome, everyone that's on live. If you want to comment, definitely feel free to join the conversation because I'm here. I'm seeing the comments and everything. But I wanted to just come on and encourage y'all today. When it doesn't look like it, nothing looked like it for me. And I've shared this story, but I still had to just get into this place of preparation. There were things that I was preparing for, and there was one thing in particular was clearing out this closet, because I remember my daughter even said this when she was little, but it's like if you're expecting, for instance, a spouse to come in, and if they were to come into your place right now, where would they be? Like my daughter was like, well, where would he sit? You know, because there was no room. And that was a message that God just kept showing me and speaking to me last year was make room, make room. And so for many of us, your establishment is going to come on the back end of you making room to receive it, you making space. And that may be physical space, that may be spiritually preparing yourself, that may be physically preparing yourself. But I'm telling you, the second piece of this season of establishment is being willing to make space, to make room from that place of expectation. So whatever you're lining up with, I'm telling you right now, God has not forgotten you. God has not forgotten you. Y'all, this message has been coming to mind for me over and over and over. And I'm finally just getting a chance to slow down, to pause. And I wanted to make sure I was on, like to sit here and share this with you. This is a season of establishment. And so what make room looks like for all of us is different. If you know, and I believe this is so true for so many of you who are connected to me, I believe this is true for myself. Many of you have a mantle of wealth on you. And I'm not just talking financial, I'm speaking financial wealth, but I'm talking about wealth. When you look again, y'all can read in Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 30, you can read in Joshua 1, when God would establish Job as well at the end of Job, wealth, that was like legacy. This wasn't wealth where you just got financial gain for you to go, floss, put your Range Rover, Escalade, whatever on social media, or this isn't for you to just, throw out some selfies and some stories. This was legacy establishing wealth. This was generational curse breaking wealth. This was your children's children weren't going to have to worry about the many things that attacked you and your ancestors and your great grandmother and your great great grandmother. This is the kind of wealth that God is bringing into the hands of those who truly have a heart to serve, those who truly want to let their light shine so that people will see their good works and glorify their Father in heaven. God is pouring out in this season. But one of the biggest tricks of the enemy is that usually the areas that we're attacked in the most is the area that we're going to be blessed in. And many of you have experienced attacks on your finances. You've experienced attacks on relationships. You've experienced attacks where you felt rejected, where you felt like things, they work out for everyone else, but it doesn't work out for you. But you're who I'm talking to, because in this season of establishment, God supersedes all that. Yes, you've suffered a little while, but he's going to strengthen you. He's going to perfect you. He's going to establish you. And it's not just for you. It's going to be for generations to come. And so the way, again, that we position that, remove all doubt. Get into a place where you're making room for it. The third thing that I was saying, I don't have these numbered really, but I'm just sharing with you, the things that have been on my mind. Number 3 is watch your circle. Watch your circle. Be very mindful of who you are, not only yourself pouring into, but who you're allowing to speak into your life, who you're allowing to pour into you, because this is a crucial season and everyone can't be there in this season. Some of these people are going to come back around. Some of these people, they just don't mean good for you. And so even for some of you that are getting frustrated and you're wondering, why have I been, y'all, I got another message I'm going to share on this one, but I just thought about it as I'm sharing this, but you've been wondering, why have I been in this place of isolation? Why does it seem like I'm by myself? Why does it seem like my friends are walking away, or the people that I'm used to being around, they're not as available as they used to be? It's because everyone cannot go with you. I think about with the children of Israel when it was time for them to cross over. Even Moses didn't make it into the promised land. But I remember, like, to the point, this is my son's name, Joshua. Joshua and Caleb, they had the insight to trust what God was doing. So when they came back, they went out into the land. They came back. They're like, we got this. Let's go. We're going to inherit the promise. But then you got complainers, you got moaners, you got gripers, you got people that simply cannot see the vision. And too much is at stake to be able to get distracted. Too much is at stake. You don't got time. This, you don't have time to try to drag any and everyone with you. Right now, you need to be strengthened. You may be able to go back and help them out. I'm telling you, there are some people that it's just not this season, but you'll be able to go back and pull them on up. You'll be able to go back and bless them, sow into them, help them more. But right now, it's not for you to be everyone's strength. It's not for you to try to pick grown people up and carry them into the promise that God has already set in front of you. And that is the reason that many of us have experienced delay. I know that there were seasons where I was so attached to people. I had to have every friend on speed dial. I had people that needed to know every move that I had going out throughout each and every day. And for that reason, there was such delay. And so many of you, again, in this season of establishment, everyone can't be on the field. Like, even when I think about, I use that sports analogy, and I just happen to like the Grizzlies, but in that sports analogy, there are 5 people in the sport, basketball specifically. There are 5 people. We got 5 roles on that court. We love you, so and so, who's sitting on the bench. God bless you, person that helped us in practice. But right now, we're trying to win this game. We're trying to make it to the end. We're trying to come out on top in this fourth quarter. Everyone can't be on the court. And God is showing you, He's giving you discernment. And for some of these people, it's not even in a bad way. You're wondering why they haven't really checked on you like they used to, or you haven't felt inclined to check on them or talk to them or whatever. God is establishing us. They may be over in their place being established, but this isn't the season to try to drag any and everyone with you. And then fourthly, I want to talk about embracing, accepting, and celebrating open doors and closed doors. These closed doors that are happening, and this is an area that I'm telling y'all this, but I'm like, don't worry about those closed doors. I worry about the closed doors. I'll be like, Lord, is this a sign that I just need to quit? Because these doors, they're closing. And I'm always reminded of Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. If you were to look back over relationships and the doors closed, job opportunities, the doors closed, different areas in your life where the doors closed, by show of whatever, if anyone, if you're commenting or if you're here, can you think of a situation where that door closed and you're so grateful when you look back, like, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that door closed, because I could have still been with so-and-so, or I could still have been befriending this person. And then later on, I found out all the things that were happening behind closed doors that I wasn't even aware of. God can see it all. And this season of establishment, some things that they were good for the season they were good for. When we think about the manna that the children of Israel experienced. The manna was good for the season that the manna was good for, but when they were entering into that land flowing with milk and honey, it wasn't just being dropped out of the sky for them like that anymore. Many of you are transitioning. When we get to this place of establishment, your manna season is up. You're getting out of that place of manna. And for that reason, certain doors that were like manna, they had to close. That person that may have always been available to you, that job that you felt comfortable in, those ideas, that felt right in the time, but now God is taking you to a new place. And this is the when he blesses you, he adds no burden to it type of blessing. So this one isn't going to overtake you. This one, you're not going to be stressed every day trying to figure out how you can keep up with this job or how you can keep up with this relationship. And y'all know this, like you probably experience times. I'm trying to slow down, but I'm y'all, I just know so many of you are going to be coming back. I've received so many testimonies. I know many of you are going to be coming back with testimonies from this specific message. So it's kind of hard for me to slow down right now. But many of you, when these doors are closing, you're thinking you did something wrong, but it's God establishing you. You're being established. And so what you think is a sign to quit, it's actually a sign for you to get excited. And if nothing else, it's time for you to get excited and get quiet. At that time, I feel like my connection is going out. The things that were falling into your lap at that time, that was for that season, but it's not what God really has for you. It's not the establishment. It was sustaining you. It was good enough. It was helpful when it was there. Establishment coming to pass. The things that you've been thinking about. Some of y'all have been thinking about, praying about these things for decades. It was 10 years ago when a woman came to me and prophesied that you're going to find love again. 10 years ago. And I remember just saying, thank you. I never forgot her saying that. But then there was just a season of manna. It was a season of, all right. But when this word is being established in this season for those of us who can perceive it, because when we can perceive it, we can prepare for it. So I want to leave y'all with this. I always go back to the story of the woman with the vessels because it was one of the most powerful things to me, where I know that she was believing God to bring her about provisions. Many of us are believing for establishment. And sometimes we can think that when we're believing for something, that's our sign to just sit back and say, well, Lord, bring it to me. But I'm telling you right now, when you're transitioning out of that manna and you're going into that promise, sometimes, or not sometimes, 100% of the time, God is giving you direction, instructions, and it's up to us to be obedient to that. That's literally the key that's going to unlock this season for you. For some of us, the instruction may be rest. For some of us, it's going into a season of fasting. It's going into a season of prayer, whatever it is, but it's so much bigger than you. It's so much bigger than you. And there are people that are waiting on you to be in your element, for you to be where God has called you to be, because you're going to be able to open doors for so many of them. So thinking about this, when she was in that place where she needed to be established because so much was at stake, and I've shared this story so many times, so y'all just, you can watch an old video. You can go search this one in the Bible. It's in Kings, the woman, the widow with the vessels. But he immediately gave her instruction. He didn't say, all right, sis, go pray, and in the sweet by and by, God's going to meet your need. He gave her instruction, the prophet. He said, what do you have in your house? And then he told her to go. She only had oil. He said, gather as many vessels as you can and pour the oil. Until she stopped gathering vessels, that's when the oil stopped flowing. I believe if she would have gathered 10 more vessels, the oil would have continued for that. But then the thing that was so amazing to me is he didn't just say, all right, you got this oil, God's going to send the people to you. From there, he told her to go out and sell it. And you and your sons will live off of it for the rest of your life. Y'all, God is giving us instruction. The instruction for me may not be the instructions that God is giving you, may not be the instructions that he's given another, may not be the instructions that he's given another. But it's so important for us to seek God for ourselves. It's so important for us to be in that quiet place. I feel like someone said that. Monisha said, we must be quiet with the instructions. And it's so true. Whatever God is speaking to you and showing you in this time and in this season, And wherever he's calling you to be obedient, be obedient. Embrace it and walk in it and watch and see that you don't come out in this fourth quarter. It might look like some of y'all went in at halftime and you questioning, like, did I hear you right, God? Nothing is looking like what I expected. Doors are closing. Things aren't happening like I thought. I feel like I'm losing. But I'm telling you right now, we are in this final season of this year specifically, and God is bringing about establishment. Just period. He is. So you can go back to 1 Peter 5:10 as a word of encouragement, knowing that his promise is to establish us. And then in addition to that, y'all just go into your quiet time. I would challenge you today. We make time for so much. I know I've spent more than 5 minutes scrolling social media in the last 24 hours. I spent time watching whatever, sitting out, like I said, going to my kids' football games, whatever. Make time, even if it's 5 minutes, to get quiet and just pray and ask God for direction. And I believe he's going to show up for you and show you where to be obedient. And I'm going to be doing the same thing. But that's it, y'all. This is probably one of the longest messages I put out lately. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap here. But if this encouraged you, make sure that you just tell someone else, tag someone, hit like. If you're watching this, wherever you're watching this on, that's a great way to support the channel. And if you want to get connected with me, you can connect with me anywhere on social media at Erica Empowers. Now, I do want to share this with you. If you are someone who has a desire to speak, if you are someone who has a message and you want to share it on more platforms, share and show up in like a capacity like this, I do have a live event coming up. And so you can go to amplifyherlive.com. I'll put it in the description, amplifyherlive.com to get tickets. This event, I'm not going to get too deep into it because I want y'all to go into your quiet place. It is game changing. I pray leading up to any event that we do, we have some powerful women that are going to be a part of this, sharing, speaking. It's a place to just get refilled, but also to steward your gift. If your gift is in speaking, if you're a writer, anything like that, where you're trying to grow your message, this is a place that you want to be. So you can go to amplifyherlive.com. That is my message. Thank you all that joined live. Thank you to everyone. I'm seeing the comments come in and y'all are so encouraging. So thank you for your support here on this channel. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care.